Andy Mayer on LBC.
More on the news that India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has committed his country to reaching net zero emissions by 2070. The goal of COP26 is to get everyone there by 2050. Tom Burke, who's been on the programme many times, chairs the climate change think tank E3G, was a government advisor. Tom, how are you?
I'm very well, if a bit busy just at the moment. I'm up at the COP.
Yes, I saw you on the telly earlier. You're looking good.
Right, thank you. It's good that Modi said they would get out, but it's a bit disappointing, the timetable. And what's particularly important, of course, is India is one of the most vulnerable countries to climate policy failure. So it needs the rest of the world to do more, and this isn't going to stimulate it to feel it needs to do a lot more.
Is it possible this is a negotiating position?
I don't think so, not in this sort of context. I think it's more the best he's able to sort of get agreement with inside India. The real thing with India is India has tremendous opportunities. They've already, and as he said in his speech, they've made tremendous progress on delivering electricity particularly to the poor in the villages, through using PV. And it's now very clear, solar PV, I should say, and it's now very clear that solar is cheaper than using coal in India. So a lot of it's to do with the power of the incumbent coal lobbies, rather than to do with the needs of, what would be the best way to deliver electricity to the poor in India.
I wonder what it means for the success of this conference if on day one, India of all countries says it can't meet one of the key objectives.
First of all, India at least did turn up, and that's very good. And it has never said anything about ending coal at all before, so it's some progress that it's being made. And we're never going to get anywhere. This is not a very tidy process. So I think you could over-fixate on individual bits of it. But the impression here from this first day, I think, first full day, is that there is a sort of mood, a real acceptance that we've got to do more. There's pretty well every single speaker, national speaker, has stood up and said we've really got to get a lot more done in the next decade. And I think that was a very important sort of theme coming through the day. And the second thing that I think there's been a much greater emphasis, and Modi's speech was like this as well, on opportunities rather than constraints. And opportunities are a better way to motivate people than constraints.
China's president not there in person, and because of that, he's not allowed to make a video address. But I'm reading that the written submission from China makes no major climate pledges.
I think that's true. That's the impression that we have. What we've seen is it's pretty much the same again. So China's really is holding back at the moment and not joining what is, I think, a more positive mood here in Glasgow than we might have expected. And part of that was, I think, because I think we got a bit more out of the G20 meeting in Rome, and that spilled over into this meeting. But nobody should think we're doing enough. We're not.
Greta Thunberg from outside the hall says it's just more blah, blah, blah.
I think that, I understand why young people in particular, feel very, very frustrated. And they're right that we're not doing enough. But the thing to remember about this agreement is whatever we get out of it, loads and loads, tens of thousands of people will take the agreements away from here and go to work inside their own countries to push a bit further forward than they would otherwise have been able to. There isn't a kind of instant solution to this. You can't turn a switch and suddenly the world is doing what it needs to be doing on climate change. And lots of what actually gets done, it just isn't visible. By and large, it doesn't make the headlines. Newspapers and broadcasters don't find it interesting enough. So I don't understand why they may think it's all blah, blah, but it's not all blah, blah.
Tom, always good to hear from you. Enjoy it. Tom Burke, who chairs the climate change think tank E3G.